Okay, guys, here's the deal. I don't have any, I don't have all the answers. I can only theorize a lot of stuff that's going down. Anybody else who tells you they have inside intel, you need to be very skeptical because the Q team does not leak. Don't go to the protests that they're talking about being in all the capital, at all the capitals. Don't go. It's either a setup or part of the plan. Don't know which. But it's definitely a great excuse to get the military in place. You guys need to go look at live feeds for the White House. And sometimes there's cameras of live feeds. Check that out. TikTok. Go on TikTok. There's a lot of live footage that people are posting. And that's going to give you some information. Learn how to research. Learn where to go. Go to official government sites. Secretary of Defense, Department of Justice, FBI. Go to their pages. Look at their news releases, press releases. Each page may say something a little bit different. But go check those out. Don't listen to your news. They are not only failing to give you the full picture, they are giving you a very scripted picture that is completely fabricated. Just don't go. Just don't watch the news. With the exception of NTD. They are free. My cord is cut, so I'm only getting stuff via the internet, and I get it off of YouTube. They have a channel, NTD News. That's NTD. NTD News. They're an affiliate of Epoch Times, but Epoch Times charges. Michael Lewis is one of the commentators. I don't know which one they identify with. And Roman Balmakov is the other one. They do excellent commentaries every day on what's happening. So catch up on those. That's another good way to keep up with things that are going on. Follow my Facebook. And if you're one of my friends, at this point now, I have cut off the public posting. I am past the point of trying to wake people up. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody that's actually finally sees what's happening does not lose their morale, because and it's classic war theory. If you ever wonder what Trump is doing, or if he looks defeated and you're scared, refer to The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It is a phenomenal book. I've read bits and pieces of it, not all of it. But the war theory, it tells you exactly how to play out. They've used the theories, the tactics in this book for decades. I lean to say centuries, all over the world. All countries have used the tactics from this book. So one of them is looking defeated. If you come off as defeated, your enemy thinks you are weak and they lower their guard. And there's no better time to take them. And Trump is an excellent actor. And let me pause for a second here and explain how his style of speaking, his verbiage is very simple. And they're like bigly and really, really a lot. So, it's very simple speak that resonates more with people who may be less educated or have less of a dictionary or dialect. And for me, it depends on the time of day, or if I've had a medicine, is to whether or not I can find my big words. But I do like to use my big words because that's how I keep them. But when you're trying to communicate with a broad range of people, you can't use big words because you lose them, you lose their interest, and it's over with at that point from their own. So simple speak is the way to communicate with your audience, and that's what he's done, and it's part of his brilliance. But don't underestimate, don't underestimate how beyond comprehension this man's intelligence is. And when he speaks, listen below the surface of what he says. Look at the details. He went to the Alamo and spoke yesterday. Okay, look up the Alamo. Look at the details of that. It was 13 days that Texans fought against thousands of Mexicans for independence. And they, 200 of them fought thousands of Mexicans for their independence. And they lost, but by the end of the year, they won. So there's most likely a message in that, the message in the presence of him being at the Alamo. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, in there he mentioned when I looked up the Alamo and the details in it, and then I moved on to his next subject that he spoke about at the Alamo, which was the wall, and he referenced, how long it was, 400 miles, 450 miles is what he got completed. That was the goal. So, and then he mentioned the plates at the top, and said, man, just wait till you see what it can do. Okay, that was red flag. What can it do? Ask yourself. And don't just leave it at that because nobody's told you. Go look. Go see if there's anything when you dig it up that you can find out about it. So I did. And when I went to the official site of whoever's in charge of the wall and all that stuff, it gave the specs. And it said exactly how many miles of wall there were. And it was exactly 452. If you do not reference the Q drops, you're not going to know, you're not going to be into it deep enough to understand what everything means. But if you're even a little bit seasoned, you might can pick up on it. It's a good time to try and learn. So I looked up the Q drop 452. And in that drop, it specified... Okay, I thought somehow I would be able to scroll back into between screens so I could point to the things or be, not spout off the top of my brain what I'm trying to remember. But one of the things in the drop 452, the first line said enough is enough. And in kill brackets in different points was the G and the O. Now, if you didn't know to look for that, you might miss it. But together, those letters are go. And then the next line was CONF for confirmation. And then it gave like some kind of a trip code that we assume is one of the codes messages to some of the military out there because they use these boards too. Because this is so deep, the swamp is so deep, they have to communicate in a way that the deep state can never anticipate or expect. So they oftentimes use the boards. And the boards is different than the Q drops. Maybe I'll explain that some other time. It's not terribly important right now. It would actually confuse more people if they found them and got on them. Anyway, it went on to confirmation, and then it gave a time, Z, which I think is the sign of the world time, UTC time. And it was 0000, which would be midnight, but it's not Eastern. It's not in Eastern time. It's whatever Z is. And I think that's like 4 hours off from our time. I can't remember. Y'all have to look that up. So there's no telling if it was a go signal for something for the military to move. It's probably addressing someone specific or in some location specifically. There's many things it could mean. So that was that. And the next line said owl, which among the community, one of the things an owl represents is evil. But one of the other things it could mean is nighttime, night vision, ability to see at night, move at night. So pretty much everything that we get could possibly mean multiple things. You try to apply it in to different ways and find out all the different scenarios. It helps your imagination picture many of the different things that could be underway. Now, we've got to stop insisting everything be done right now and our way and on our time. It just can't be. And if everybody's expecting something, you can bet your butt it's not going to happen that way. Because if everybody's expecting it, the deep state's expecting it, and they're going to offset it. And the one thing about war you don't want is for your enemy to know what you're doing. So they can't tell us. And people get so hissy about this. And it's just like, lay off. And yeah, we knew that the 6th was planned. They knew. I'm telling you, there is some fashion of time travel that takes place. I'm not saying their physical body does, but it might. There is a scientific explanation around it. And if you ever get to going deep enough, you will find it. It has to do with the whole splitting of the atom, the speed in which molecules move. Time is a construct, people. We did that. We put ourselves in that box, or society did. And think of what everything else that we know, all the knowledge that we have acquired has been fed to us. And who came up with it, though? I think what we're probably going to find out whenever everything gets exposed is the Catholic Church played a huge role. And that's not saying that Catholics are bad, but that's saying there is a division within the Catholic Church that is. And they're actually very satanic. But it's just like the Masons, and there's a whole lot of talk about this 44th, degree Mason, and Masons are evil. But it's like everything else. Every other country, every faction, every group, there are good people and bad people in them. It's the same with China. China has great people. They're very sweet people. I've taught children over there. I know moms over there and dads over there. The children are brilliant. It's fascinating. But the CCP is they're the villains. We think we're good. We are good. I mean, Americans generally are good. But then you have the deep state. But think of how much is going on in all these other countries, or what they think of us, because there's an internet line drawn, guys. Like China can't access our same internet. They can't access Facebook. What's some of the other things? I do have one contact. The only time that they can get on the internet, if I'm not mistaken, like on search engines and things, is if they're at work. And if it's for work, pre-approved work purposes, because I taught and the company was there. So they were allowed to get on then. But there's always going to be hackers everywhere. And there are hackers that are on both, in both territories online. And I know one of them personally, so I haven't kept up with him recently. But prior, I've had a lot of conversation with him about the differences. And like, they can't see our YouTube. So all they're seeing in China is what China gives them to see. And we've also got to realize that not everything is as it appears. The video today that Trump did looked like a deep fake. And y'all, if y'all don't realize how realistic this stuff can be, you really need to look it up. I mean, go look up how deep fakes are made. It's not saying that it's like a full fake and it doesn't exist at all and poof. No, it's actually, they use a person and they put like a white sock kind of thing on them that like tucks into their clothing. And then in a green screen type fashion, they superimpose another individual's head on that body using a computer, using digital graphic imagery. And this stuff can make laugh lines like this. One person can speak that is not the person whose head you see, and all the expressions fall into the picture you see of the person that's not really there. I mean, it's wild. You really need to go look at these things so that you understand. But you can look at the neckline and see that there's a whole lot of like weird digital lines where the skin meets, and when he's tilting his head, it just doesn't look right. So, and you'll also, in the one today, you'll see how the background is blurry. Like my background is blurry. But that's because I did this in a photo mode which that's not what they're using there. They're using a green screen. So when you cast an image onto a green screen, you pick the colors in the background, which would be green. So everything, this is why people can't wear green when they use a green screen. And green screen is really just kind of a term that is used. It could be any color. I can pick purple. I can pick white. White actually makes a very good definition against things, so that it picks up the lines much more clear. But then you can't wear white because you click all the white around somebody and it makes it disappear, and the image that you want to appear appears in its place. So if you're also wearing white and using a white backcloth, then that white is going to be superimposed with the imagery of the picture you're wanting to show. So we know it's not red, white, or black that they're using as a back screen, whatever color it is. When you project a picture over a backdrop, it's going to be less clear unless they're using a photo mode. But they've never used a photo mode on any of Trump's prior speeches. You'll notice this also in the one when he called people off and told them to go home on the 6th of January. Same thing. And I don't think he's at the White House. I think he's been on Air Force One pretty much since the 6th, with the exception of the Alamo, which led us to that information, or led me to that information. And you can agree or not agree. It's okay. That's it. The things that I came up with were my theory. By the way, I'm so ADD all over the place. Jump back to the Alamo thing. When I was on the site looking up the specs for the wall, it strangely said materials used so far. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that kind of goes without saying. Why say so far? So it drew my attention, and I took the two numbers. 681 was one of them. I looked up that drop, and it also applied. I think that one said, "Thank you for visiting the White House," which to me says, Patriots, thanks for showing up on the 6th. You provided the cover that we needed to get in there and grab the laptops. Because we've seen pictures of individuals that were dressed fully covered. Not a bare inch, not a flick of hair was showing on these people. And one of them was carrying wrist restraints. And that's what the cops use nowadays instead of handcuffs. It's basically two zip tie loops hooked together. And of course they said this guy had been arrested. I don't believe that. First of all, they had nothing, no identifying factor to distinguish this person. Secondly, that's going to be a great cover. That cover needs to exist, so people will leave that search alone. So you got things going on for optics. You got things going on behind the scenes. There's a lot we don't see, and we have to accept that we don't get to know or get to see, and we don't need to demand and be angry because we're not getting all the inside information. It would ruin everything. So the other drop, which was because they did the amount of steel that was used and the amount of concrete. So it was 681 tons of steel and 792, I think it was, cubic yards, cubic tons, whatever it was, of concrete. So I looked up that number, and on that one, it said several things that are relevant. I can't remember exactly what they were, but the last thing was trust the plan. So right now, when everybody's thinking, oh my God, it's over, what are we going to do? It's reaffirming trust the plan. Guys, they have been working on this, planning this since JFK was shot. And in the last decade, they have planned it more finitely. It said that they even asked Trump to run prior to 2012, and that he declined because he wasn't ready yet. But then said, okay, let's do this prior to 2016. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I tend to believe that. And now I've not followed the Q drops as long as many people have, but at this point, the amount of time I've put in probably equates to people that have been watching it since it started dropping in October of 2017. I think it was October. So I've got a lot of time in it, but if you have seen all the things that I have seen where it's been foretold, things that happen now that were foretold 2 years ago, and you have so many things that tie current events to drops from 2 years ago or 1 year ago or 3 years ago, then you just don't have any doubts. And the extent that they've gone to plan this stuff, there's no way that they didn't account for what's happening now. So I fully believe that every single thing that's happening has been planned for. And I think it's all part of the show. So, guys, enjoy the show. All right, wait. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. A lot of people don't understand why everything couldn't happen, like just do it already, why it's taken so long. But the swamp is so entrenched, so deep. You've got good people that appear good, but they're not good. They're just pulling off the role really well. And about the only way to expose this is for people to think Trump is defeated. So, and that all this takes time. This is not, I'm going to pull the little drug dealer out of the neighborhood. This is, I'm going to pull the massive drug dealer that's running the world. So this is going to take a long time to expose everything that needs to be exposed. So guys, please be patient and do not lose morale. Just know it's part of the show and have faith, because that's what this is all about. Like, bigger than anything is to ascend your mind, let you, show you how to think for yourself and not get confined by the constructs and the little boxes that we've been put in our entire lives. Everything we thought we knew, y'all, it was wrong. It was all wrong. And the more you research, you'll find that out. One day I'll do a video on all the, different things, different ways that I research into something. So until then, catch you guys next time. Enjoy the show.